First item up on our agenda is to approve our revised agenda as presented.
So moved.
We have a
Second.
motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to our consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve our consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on into our financial report with Mr. Ray.
Just a couple notes. In the June financial report, June 30th, 2019, that was presented to you in the last board meeting, I said it was a draft. And there's a slight change. It's only $1,300. It was another expenditure that I had to book. So kind of manner of full disclosure, that's the financial statements for June 30th, 2019 that you have in all material respects are accurate. But I did want you to let you know there is a slight variation. It's only $1,300. Any questions on that? I did not present to you the July financial statements at that board meeting, but your August financial statements that you do have before you encompass the Julys. So if you will turn to page 1 in your general purpose financial statement, you will see that your revenues are kind of slim. That's because in the month of June, we recognize the lion's share of property tax. It's 3 months. What I do in July and August and September for our financial statement review is I look at cash flow. And we talked about that at the last meeting. We have $3.9 million in cash. Our fund balance at June 30th was $4.3 million. I've always said you can't spend fund balance, you can only spend cash. And so we had a negative cash flow in July and August, and that's normal and recurring. We don't get BEP in July. That's $488,000. That explains the difference. So I really look at our cash position in July and August. We're doing fine. With the school federal projects, you can see we have no revenue that we've recognized in the month of July or August. Remember that federal projects are reimbursement. We spend the money, we request reimbursement. When we get the reimbursement, I recognize that revenue. Generally, we are, in the normal course of the school year, we're 30 to 45 days behind. So the money that we received in July was actually recognized in June. And that's why we have a difference. We don't have a cash flow problem in general projects at this time. Cafeteria Fund. Our goal for the Cafeteria Fund is to build build fund balance to 3 months of expenditures. Last year, we accomplished part of that mission. The way I anticipate this year winding up is we should end up with a surplus of about $40,000 this year. That is going to bring us to $86,000 in fund balance for Cafeteria Fund. We need to get that to about 120. So I think in the next 2 years we can get where we need to be and be safe with the Cafeteria Fund. I know I've dropped a lot on you, but any questions about those three financial statements?
Just to kind of clarify, we did have a community question about why we want to keep a fund balance in the cafeteria, and you may be asked by some stakeholders as well. And the cafeteria should really be a self-sustaining business to where we are not pumping instructional money into the cafeteria. And so as any business, you need to have some in fund balance to deal with. For instance, at the beginning of this year, we purchased a steamer that was what, Scott, $10,000?
$11,000.
$11,000 for a steamer. If we need a new refrigerator, you're looking at how much, Scott Ray?
The equipment alone can be $20,000 for
So
a
we
freezer.
could drop $20,000, $30,000 with one piece of equipment, you know, and Airmark is not responsible for the equipment upkeep, we are. And so we certainly are not, the the purpose of the cafeteria fund is to not make a profit, but it is to have a fund balance in such that we can, if anything goes wrong with the cafeteria, we have a fund balance to go to take care of it without taking instructional money from children. And we may need to do some education with the public on that.
Scott, what changed for this to change like this?
Probably two things. One, universal free breakfast, eliminating that program last year, brought us to a surplus, and Airmark's efficiencies. Those two things combined brought us to a surplus. And this, I think this is my 7th year. We've never had a surplus in the cafeteria fund.
I thought there was another item we had to buy for cafeterias. Don't have anything else right now?
We bought a steamer,
That's probably what it was.
and that may have been it.
We've received 2 breakfast carts, but we got those through a grant.
Those were grants.
And we
and
did
there's-
receive a new milk refrigeration, but that came from Mayfield,
Mayfield
so
is
they
part of our
donated that.
contract with, I don't recollect any other
Okay.
pieces of equipment.
I'm glad to see a little surplus there.
And I think Kelly hit the nail on the head, so to speak. It's not that we're trying to make money off of our food service at all. We're just trying to be wise and have a little savings so that when we do incur a capital
Yeah.
expenditure, we can pay for it. And
Well, and when we look also, that's why we have to continue to raise our lunch prices every year, those 5 cents. Because actually, the kids that pay are paying less at this point than what the federal reimbursement is. So actually, and I guess you could say they're actually getting the food a little bit cheaper than what the free and reduced lunch kids are getting. And so that's where the feds are making us raise our lunch prices to where it's more equitable.
It's called paid lunch equity. You have to keep your lunch prices in line with the federal reimbursement rates. So if federal rates go up, you have to increase your prices.
Are we getting a third breakfast cart?
Excuse me?
Are we going to get a third breakfast cart?
Well, since we do breakfast in the classroom at North,
The whole school does?
the whole school already does that, so we have great breakfast participation at North. I'm wanting to say almost 99%. All the kids are eating breakfast at North. That's the one great thing about breakfast in the classroom is your participation will go up. And I like to see kids eating a healthy breakfast in the morning. Any questions on the financials?
All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve our August financial report,
So
Appendix B.
moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second? Motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion for Mr. Ray? Hearing none, Kim, could we have a roll call vote, please?
David Queener,
Yes.
KK Webster.
Yes.
Tim Bible,
Yes.
Merle Price.
Yes.
Joey Smith,
Yes.
Curtis Isbell.
Motion carries. Moving on to the budget amendment number 1.
You should have a memo from Kelly and I that addresses the high points of the budget amendment. We've increased the textbook expenditures by $50,000, and how we're going to fund that is we started the year with a budgeted surplus. So we're going to dive into that budgeted surplus a little bit to pay for those textbooks.
And
We've
just
had-
a little clarification on what that was we did a dual purchase this year for both science and social studies textbooks. And that's kind of unusual that we would do both of those in one year. But we really wanted to kind of play around with the science standards last year to make sure that we had a full understanding of what the standards entailed so that we could make an educated decision on what science book we wanted to go with. And so that's kind of where the double up has come from.
The second bullet item is increase other contracted services for $5,250. And again, we're using some of that budgeted surplus to do that. That is a contract with the HVAC company to perform a 4-year maintenance, full-service maintenance and warranty on our cooling tower. So in October, we'll mark the expiration of that cooling tower is 4 years old. When we purchased the cooling tower, we had them, as part of the price, maintain and guarantee all the parts for 4 years. And then we can renew that 4-year contract with no more than a 5% increase. And they did give a $250 increase from 4 years ago. I think that's money well spent, because as you know, if the cooling tower goes down, Clinton Elementary School's cooling and heating system goes down. And that's a $60,000, $70,000 piece of equipment we're maintaining. The third budgeted item on there is increase in architect and building improvements for $240,450 funded by increase in revenues. What that is, and Kelly's going to address some of that in her discussion in her director's report, but we're trying to set aside some money for future expansion at Clinton Elementary School. We're in the very preliminary stages of talking about that right now. So I felt it would be wise to kind of set aside some money, get that in there on the budget, and try to account for that. Where we're getting those funds are an increase in property tax and sales tax revenue. Part of that increase is required for maintenance of effort. I was a little bit too conservative in our budget last year. I really like to underestimate revenues and overestimate expenses, and we still wound up with a surplus, which is a great place to be. But the state is asking me to increase our revenues to show that the local government, the county and the city, is maintaining their level of funding year over year. I budget a little differently than they recommend, but nonetheless, the easiest solution to that discrepancy was just to increase the revenue. I have no doubt that we'll achieve that revenue. The amount that we're off is that we're increasing property tax and sales tax is $238,000. So sales tax is averaging about $125,000 a month for us, and that'll probably go up to about $130,000 as this year progresses. Any questions on budget amendment?
All right. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve budget amendment number 1 as presented.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Any further questions, comments for Mr. Ray? Hearing none, Kim, could we have a roll call vote, please?
David Queener,
Yes.
KK Webster,
Yes.
Tim Bible,
Yes.
Merle Price,
Yes.
Joey Smith,
Yes.
Curtis Isbell.
Motion passes.
Before Scott Ray, before you sit down, KK did make a comment that she
Oh,
was
my
very
glasses.
surprised to hear, no, that she was very surprised to hear you say that it was a minimal amount of $1,300.
He said only.
Only $1,300.
Well,
Being as frugal and conservative as you are, that I would think you would think that was quite a bit of
having a
money.
child has definitely changed my perspective on many things, and that would be one of them, as you all are aware. So, thank you, KK. I will strive to do better. Pinch those pennies.
Only 13.
Thank you, Scott. All right, moving on, we'll move into new business. The first item up under new business is to elect delegates for the TSBA convention. This will meet on Saturday, November the 16th, while we are in Nashville there. Who did it in the past? All right, is anybody else?
Probably my turn to go again.
You want to go?
I did it 2 years, so.
I'll do it.
All right,
Merlin,
is anybody,
Merlin David.
Merle and David?
An alternate too.
Oh, we need an alternate? Would
I'll
you
be
like to-
alternate.
I'm doing it, so I don't need to be an alternate, I'm going.
All right, so Merle's going, it'll be Merle then.
And
Me and Merle and
And-
KK will be the alternate.
All right, so I entertain a motion for Merle and David to be our representatives and KK to be the alternate.
Motion.
Motion and a second. Any further questions, comments? Last second to back out. All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on, will be the Anderson County Health Department will be issuing the flu mist, an opportunity for the kids to get the flu mist at our schools.
And I would like to make a correction on that. They are hoping to get the flu mist in. It might actually be the flu shot. But just to clarify how we are going to do this a little bit differently this year, in the past, we've done it during the school day. We're going to kind of change it up just a little bit, just to add a layer of protection to make sure we are immunizing kids with proper parent documentation and with parents' permission. We are moving it to try to do it in conjunction, hopefully, with our cookouts. And then we will do it during the day, but the parents will actually take the child to get it done so that we make sure that we are immunizing children correctly. Just another little safety precaution for liability. But it may be the flu shot. So I guess flu immunization might be the best, which we've done shots for the past 3 years. And actually, I mean, the kids do really well, but they were hoping to go back to the mist, but that's still
It's the most
up for,
effective, too.
huh?
It's the most effective.
Yes, it is, yeah.
What if the parent doesn't come and you have a permission slip that says, yes, they can get the shot?
The way that we have worded it right now, we had a child last year that was improperly immunized, thank you. And so we worked with the health department to kind of create this, that some adult needed to be with the child, but there'll also be like after-school opportunities for them to come as well. And we will see how it goes. And if we find that it's not successful, we'll go back and we'll kind of reboot and reevaluate.
Any further discussion or questions for Ms. Johnson? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the health department for the flu mist immunizations for our students, or shots, whatever is
shots.
there.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on, we have a revised school board policies.
We do,
for
and this
first
month it's all about you all.
And it's,
We received these recommendations from TSBA that we just needed to revise 3 of the board members' policies. There's not really significant changes, just as you look through it, it's a little bit more specific about the role of the Board of Education and the Code of Ethics. One of the things that we already do, but they did add in there that part of our group goal is to develop and adopt a strategic plan. And so we started that. We have one, our Vision 2020 is in place right now, so that's something that we do. But we're in the process of working on our Amplify that we started on our board retreat. So nothing real significant in there. I'm sure you've had a chance to read over it, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. But it is just updating the policy from 2013. So there's 3 of those.
all right. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve on first and second reading on the revised school board policies. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further questions or comments for Kelly? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on, we'll move into reports by principals.
Okay, we'll start, since we were supposed to be at Clinton Elementary, this is kind of Clinton Elementary's night to showcase their test data. So Jenna has some good stuff to share with you, but we're not going to let you go first. We're going to make you wait. So we'll start and let the other 2 go first, and then we'll end with a bang as she shares her test data. So let's start with North Clinton. Ms. Rael, do you want to come on up?
Good evening. We have had a nice, fun, busy month. We've had our first PTCC, our Parent-Teacher Community Connection meeting, where we did some fall carnival planning and some discussion of our fundraisers for the year. And then on the 26th, we officially started both 5th and 6th grade band for our second year. And this year, Mr. Case is hoping to do a 6th grade pep band, since they now have had band in 5th grade. Some of them have had band in 5th grade. So we're going to hopefully see some of that at the Blaze basketball games this year. The students are really excited about that opportunity. And on the 28th, we had our fall pictures. September 3rd, we had our staff meeting, and our district-wide nurse, Amanda May, came and did a certification training for us for Stop the Bleed so that if we did have some sort of injury, that would be throughout anything that would be in for one individual student or multiple students or a staff member who might get injured, we have some kits that we could use to help that person if they so needed that. So we were all trained at that staff meeting. And then on the 10th, we had our grandparent lunch, which is always such a sweet day for the grandparents to get to come visit. And for our little bitty school, we had 78 grandparents and parents that came to visit and have lunch with us. Then that same night, we went to the Oakridge Associated University's grant ceremony, and our interventionist, Lynn Neal, had applied for a grant for 7 math and literacy movement mats. And so she got 7 of those mats totaling $1,650 worth of materials for students to work on math concepts and literacy concepts. And there was one that's even a clock, so I'm excited to see how that one's going to work out when she unpacks those boxes. On the 23rd, we will have our next PTCC, and on the 30th, we will have our fall cookout. And on October 2nd, we will have our staff flu shots, and the 3rd, we will have our staff flu immunization in the gym. And then later that night, we will have our fall carnival with lots of fun and games, and we're going to try to do some academic activities that evening as well, just to kind of involve the students in some sort of like academic games as part of the carnival as well. So we're excited about where we're headed this year.
Does the band director now come to the school?
Yes, Mr. Case does the band for each of our 3 schools, and so he has designated days.
We
And
used to have to transport them, so he's on that.
yes, so we don't have to do that. He comes to us 2 days a week, and so the students get to go in the music room, and they just got their instruments a couple of days ago, so they're very excited.
What night is your carnival again?
October 3rd.
Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Ryle.
Thank you.
Ms. Bonesteel for South Clinton Elementary.
We've had a busy month already as well. On the 4th, we started out with our fall yearbook pictures, and I do want to say thank you to Legends Event Photos for doing that. It's really nice to have a local hometown company that does that. They were very kind. We have some students that are on some alternate schedules, and they were very kind to come back later in the day and make sure that they got pictures of those students so they could be included in the yearbook. So I just want to say a thank you to them for working with us on that. And then last Friday, the 6th, we had our Grandparents' Day lunch, and we had about 100 visitors. So we were filled to the brim and had to open up the gym and put more tables. So that was a great thing. We were excited to have all those grandparents come and visit us. On the 9th, we got a visit from the Boy Scouts, and they came around and talked to all of our classes, kindergarten through 5th grade, and then they had a sign-up meeting that evening for any students that were interested. And then that same day, September 9th, we also had our first behavior team meeting, and all the staff members that are on the team have read a book called Lost at School, and it's just a different take on how we look at students that have behavior problems and behavior issues. And Dr. Bob O'Connor kind of helped us with our first behavior team meeting. He's been doing some consulting with some of our students and helping us get them on some behavior plans to make them successful this year. So we're glad to have him as part of our team. On the 10th, the Lions Club came to do vision screening for all of our kindergartners. Coming up on the 19th, our 3rd graders are going to attend Farm Day, and they look forward to that every year. On the 26th, we'll have dental screenings, and on the 27th, our 2nd grade always does a trip every year to the Oakridge Playhouse to see a live performance. So they're going to be going to see Pinocchio this year, and they're very excited about that. And we have lots of after-school activities that have already gotten started and some that haven't gotten started yet. But so far, we have our Orff Music Ensemble that meets every Monday, and they typically play our school song for us at every assembly that we have every month, so that's really neat. Our 4th through 6th grade art club has started, as well as 1st and 2nd grade kickball, which is super fun. So if you ever want to come and watch something really fun, come and watch 1st and 2nd grade kickball. It's great. 4-H cardio club, 5th and 6th grade band, And we're going to be starting a club called the Bridge Project, which is going to be a STEAM club. They actually did it at North Clinton, and we were so excited about what we heard that we're going to do it at South Clinton this year and give it a try. So we're excited about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, Ms. Sharp with Clinton Elementary. She is going to showcase her Tea and Ready data tonight for us. We decided to not rely on the TVs.
Are they colored?
They're colored copies. Is Danny
Oh,
with us
those
tonight?
look great, Danny.
I saw Danny was out of the office. I took full advantage of it, read the colored copies real fast. I actually have a copy, so you can save that for one of them.
Yeah.
So tonight I'm just going to kind of go through the slides and tell you all a little bit about our Tea and Ready data. We were super proud of our students and teachers this year. We earned the title of Reward School again, so we are excited about that. If you will go ahead and turn over to page 2, and it's titled CES Chronically Absent Percentage. This year, our chronically absent percent of students was 7.3. which was around 38 students. Last year, we had about 6.8, so our goal was 6.6. We went a little bit in the other direction, but we had a lot of illness this year, and a lot of the illness was repeat illness. So a child would get a flu, and then the brother would get a flu, or they just couldn't get better. So we have some plans this year. A little more communication with the parents, making sure that they do have doctor's notes for those illnesses, just staying on top of that. But our parents, they know we're serious this year. They are getting phone calls if they're not there, and some personally from me. And so what they've gotten in the habit of doing now is calling me or coming by to tell me when the kid is not going to be there. So that communication is important. If you will go ahead and turn over to page 3, you're looking at our TVOS, which is student growth. We were super proud that our composite was a 5. The literacy was a 3. The numeracy was a 5. And then when you look at literacy and numeracy together, obviously it came out to be a 4. But then our 6th grade had social studies this year, and Miss Odell earned a 5. Well, the students earned a 5 in growth, so that brought our composite back up to a 5. So if you will go ahead and turn over to page 4. What you are looking at on page 4 is what the teachers see when they go to the TVOS website. So again, that's growth. You can follow the growth from year to year with students, but what we are going to be looking at primarily tonight is the 2019 growth measure for each grade level. 3rd grade did take the test, but they did not have TVOS because there is not a test prior to that year. This year we are giving the 2nd grade assessment, so we're hoping next year then they will actually get a score. But if you look at 4th grade, they were green, and 5th grade was green, and you can look at the standard error there in the actual growth measure. 6th grade was blue. So when you're looking at that, what that tells me is that 4th and 5th grade, the students still made about a year's growth. And then when you look at 6th grade, you can see that they made a lot of growth. When you look at the previous year, if you are looking at 2018 for 4th grade, you can follow that group from 4th grade to then 5th grade in 2019. When you're looking at the growth for what they had in 4th grade, you can see that it is really high. So we still grew them even though they had significant growth before. And then again, when you look at 5th grade, in the year 2018, it was red, and then going to 6th grade, the growth was phenomenal, so we are very proud of them. We did have 2 new ELA teachers in 4th grade. And then in 5th grade, we implemented a new reading series. We had them use iReady for their instructional tool. So when we look at achievement, you'll be able to see that that did pay off. But they did still grow them, so we are proud. If you'll go ahead and turn over to page 5. So the previous slide was ELA, and this is our math. You can look at 4th grade. Again, we'll be looking at 2019. 4th grade had great growth, and then if you look at 5th and 6th grade, they still grew them a year. When you compare the students from year to year, you can see that in several of the previous years, they've had great growth. So still making growth. Maybe it's not as much, but it's really hard to grow when you, do so well the year before. So that's our math. And then if you will go ahead and turn over to page 6. We are looking at social studies, and the only grade level that took the social studies test was 6th grade. And you can see that she had a 12.9 growth. So that's amazing. We are very, very proud of Miss Odell. And when you look in that, you can clearly see why we got a 5 on our TVOS in social studies. And then the next slide, if you look at page 7, it is science, and there is no data, but I wanted to include that in case anyone had a question about the science data, just to show you that we did not get TVOS for that. That was a field test. And then if you go on to page 8, you're going to be looking at the students that were on track and mastered in ELA. So this is, you can see the data. It begins at 2017, and you can track it 2018 and 2019. We are going to be looking at 2019 data tonight, but we wanted you all to have the past 3 year scores. So 3rd grade was at 47.9. 4th grade was at 39.2, and again, we do attribute that to having new teachers. 5th grade achievement was 55.6. So obviously the new tool for instruction that they used did work. We were very, very proud of them. And then when you look at 6th grade, they were at 42.3. So they had a higher growth than they had achievement, but that's okay. We're still very proud of their growth.
Hey, Jenna, before you move on, if you'll recall, last year when we were looking at T and Ready data, we had issues in 3rd and 5th grade. And so when you look at the bump that we saw in ELA in 3rd and 5th grade, I mean, our interventions in achievement proved to be successful. But our 3rd grade, we knew, had some significant issues, and so them moving to 4th grade, I mean, we still see that, but we also know that we're building on those kids. But 6th grade, with the 69 down to 42.3, we had talked about that all last year, that 6th grade cohort was just significantly different than the previous years. I believe, I wish Dr. Jordan was here, but I believe it was like 50% of the kids came in significantly below grade level. So when you look at the growth that we made with them, that was amazing, but we knew we would take a little bit of a hit on achievement with that grade level.
And then all grades was 46.7. We hope to increase that at least to 50 this year. Our goal is 60. We had that goal last year, and that was just a personal school goal. Obviously, we did not meet that, but when we met as a leadership team this year and with our data team, we know that that's lofty, but we don't want to lower our expectations. So we've kept it at 60. The next slide, page 9, is the math on track and mastered categories. So grade 3 was 49.3. Grade 4 was 54.4. Our 5th grade was 76.5. That's amazing. We were very, very proud of them. Sixth grade was at 50%, so all students was 58.6. Again, our goal for ELA and math was 60, so they came close there. We also use iReady, which is a diagnostic program, and it predicted our on-track and mastered with students to be at 60. I think it was 59 point something, and it came out to be 58.6. So highly predictable on that. So we're very proud of our students in math, and we had a huge math focus last year too, so that was not much of a surprise. So if you will turn over to page 10, we're going to talk just a little bit about our strategies for this upcoming year. We are going to try to increase the number of students who are on track and mastered in ELA through strengthening our Tier 1. We're going to focus on rigorous materials to meet the depth of the standards. So we want to tailor the instruction to the students' needs, but we've also seen what can happen with very intentional planning and questions, like we did in 5th grade last year. So we've expanded that. And then we'll use our PLC time to reflect on data. We'll identify needs of at-risk students and students with disabilities to increase growth in our subgroup categories. So that was something that's important to us this year, is properly identifying those students and giving them enrichment or intervention opportunities based on need. And then we will also emphasize to parents, as previously discussed, the importance of their attendance and achievement and growth. And then if you go over to page 11, that's our strategies for improvement in mathematics, and they're very similar to what we have for ELA. But just to let you know, we've purchased a math-ready workbook for all the students. Something that we did find in math is that from year to year, they were learning different ways of the same concept. So we thought maybe if it were uniform from year to year, it's not that much of a setback when going over something that they were building on. So we hope that that will help us. And then again, PLC time to dig deeper into the standards and making sure that the teachers understand exactly what rigor is required and how they can teach that. And then identifying, again, at-risk students. Does anybody have any questions about our data?
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. We're very proud of, it's nice to see when your hard work pays off. So, and then I just also want to thank everyone who came to our Grandparents' Day on Friday the 6th. And then our 3rd grade will go to Farm Day on the 19th. We will also have flu shots for the staff on the 1st. And then our parent conference night is on October 3rd. So any parents that we have, we'd like to take note. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you,
Sharp.
Ms. Sharp. All right. Also, make note, the fall district meeting is at Marable High School. Kim, have you heard from everybody on that? Okay, good,
So
good.
we'll leave,
We're leaving at 3.
I think 3:30, we have to be there at 4:30? Is that correct? I think we leave at 3:30 will be good, yeah.
All right,
3:30 at central office if you want to ride.
okay.
If you're brave enough to ride in the school van.
All righty. In October, we'll be meeting at South Clinton Elementary School for our next board meeting. Also, keep your calendars clear for the TSBA conference in Nashville coming up in November. That concludes all reports and information. We'll move on to the director.
Okay, here are some updates regarding Clinton City Schools. Yes, they have come, yes. Before I begin Director's Update, though, last month, we introduced all of the new employees with Clinton City Schools, and our school nurse at Clinton Elementary School was unable to attend because she was busy, rightly so, celebrating a grandfather's 80th birthday. Is that correct? So Tara Ward, stand up and let me introduce you. This is Tara Ward, and she is our new full-time registered nurse at Clinton Elementary School. And so we hired her over the summer. And she has just come in and has done a tremendous job. She's dealing with several very, very intense health needs at the school and just handles it with charm and professionalism. And she has just settled into Clinton and has done a fabulous job. So I wanted you to be able to put a face with the name there since she wasn't able to join us. So thank you so much for joining us. And you are welcome to stay for the director's report, but if you need to go home and crash, it won't hurt our heart either. We completely understand. We appreciate you coming.
Yes.
Now on to the official director's report. First of all, I would like to welcome, we have 3 of our school board member colleagues with us today. We have Keys Flower with us he's the chairman of the Oakridge City School Board, along with Johnny Burge and Faye Heatherly from Campbell County School Board. So we certainly want to welcome you to Clinton City Schools, and we appreciate you being here to evaluate our school board meeting tonight. As always, we look forward to receiving feedback for continuous improvement. So thank you so much for coming. We did receive a thank you note from Abby Swanner, who was the recipient of our Ruth White Scholarship back in May, so I wanted to read that to you all. She said, "Thank you so much for awarding me with the Ruth Foster Wright Scholarship. I am so grateful to have been able to attend Clinton Elementary School. I had absolutely wonderful teachers and an amazing time at Clinton Elementary. I felt prepared for middle school thanks to the awesome education I received. I'm so happy to have received this scholarship, and we appreciate it very much." So she, according to her mother, Dee Dee, Abby's having the time of her life, and Dee Dee, the mama, is crying a lot. So as it should be. We appreciate her taking the time to do that. I want to give you a little bit of an enrollment update. We have seen so far this year a slight increase to what we experienced last year. At the end of last year, keep in mind when you're looking at the funding, we do not receive any state funding for pre-K, so these numbers do not include our 2 pre-K programs, which have approximately 40 children in them. So we ended this last school year at 912 students K through 6. And currently, we have 934 enrolled. So that is an increase of 22 kids. Now, keep in mind that fluctuates by 3 or 4. Just we lose them and we enroll them, so that number is not quite static. But if we maintain this enrollment, we should see a slight bump in our BEP growth money in second semester. So we'll just kind of see how those numbers play out and see if we stay increased. Where we are really seeing the increase within our system is within our K through 3. And so for the first time ever that I can recall, we actually had to shut off transfers this year in K through 3 because we were so close to BEP numbers and needed to save some spots for city students. And so that's good to see that attendance or membership is up. Also wanted to share this graphic with you since we've kind of talked about breakfast. I received this at one of the directors' meetings that I went to several months ago, and haven't had a chance and opportunity to share it with you. But of course, the purpose of our free and reduced lunch breakfast is we want to make sure that children have healthy meals. And so they gave us this breakdown of our school, and really we'll just focus on the top part. Where you see the 3, you see the nation, the state, and then the school. So nationwide, about 57% of the students are participating who are eligible or participating in the free breakfast program. Then 65% in the state, and then in our district, we are at 74. And so that's good news to us that what we are doing is working, and that we are that the kids who need the free and reduced lunch breakfast are taking advantage of that. All of the statistics down at the bottom break it down into individual schools, but this data was taken before we started the breakfast cart at Clinton Elementary and South Clinton Elementary, so I will be eager. I hope that they give us this information again next year, because I would anticipate us seeing Clinton and South Clinton free and reduced breakfast percentage increase with the breakfast cart. So this will be good data, baseline data for us to use to then compare if we get this report again next year, for us to compare to see what a difference the breakfast cart made. So I just wanted you to have that piece of information. Wanted to let you know that our Blaze activities are in full force across the system. If you follow Blaze Facebook page, you see all the fabulous things that are happening. But our basketball, they're in busy practicing. Cross country has already participated in 2 or 3 meets. Our Blaze dance team tryouts are happening this week. As Leanne Bonesteel said, the Orff Ensemble is in action. Swimming team is in action. Soccer with Coach Carroll's in action, our band is in action, and art club is in action. So busy, busy place after school, which is our goal with all of these well-rounded activities, is to keep kids engaged in something other than going home and playing video games. So I think we're seeing some success with these programs. We did have the Reader Society is going to come back this year. And so I don't think that it has begun yet, but it will be. Also, we wanted to have both sports-related and movement activities as well as academic, so that every child could feel like that they are part of the Blaze activities. We did have a successful basketball breakfast last Saturday at the Apple Blossom. We raised approximately $1,200 on that breakfast that will be used towards the basketball program. And then we are having a rip-roaring time on Saturday, September 28th. We are going to do spaghetti and karaoke at the Apple Blossom Cafe for our swim team and our cross-country team. And I think it would be absolutely fabulous if some school board members show up and show us your awesome voices at this event. Not Scott Ray is not allowed. He is not allowed to sing.
You're accepting donations for him not to sing?
You know, that we could raise money. For Scott not to sing, you have to attend and bring a little bit of an extra donation. So, anyway, tickets are still only $5 a piece, and Apple Blossom and C&D Printing have really been good supporters of the Blaze activities. And so, for our breakfast, we actually moved away from the pancake breakfast and did a hot breakfast. And Jimmy Taylor donated all of the food and his facilities to where that was pure profit for us. And Charlie Lane printed the tickets for us for no cost. And so we certainly have some strong supporters here in Clinton. I did want to update you on my past 4 to 5 days with the Department of Education, just to kind of let you know, anytime that there's a new commissioner that comes in or new governor, we kind of see a little bit of a different focus in education. So we met with her, and she rolled out the new state plan. And the new state plan consists of, three major components. I put 4 on there, and it should say 3. There is an academic component, an educator's component, and then a whole child component. And I think you're going to see a big emphasis with this commissioner on mental health and emotional supports for children, which does absolutely need to occur. I mean, we know that that is one of the biggest issues that we're facing in education is our NAS babies are coming in, behavior disorder kids, and just kids with high anxiety and depression. And so we absolutely need to focus on that. So really, when we looked at the whole a lot of the conference that she put on had to do with educating the whole child and mental health and emotional supports. I will personally say, I'm not speaking for every director in the state, I personally say that this strategic plan appears to be much more global in general than what I've seen from commissioners in the past. There were no measurable objectives, no specific measurable objectives. If you remember, under McQueen, we were functioning on the 75% of the kids will be reading on 3rd grade level by 2025. That's nowhere in the plan. So many of the directors were a little bit disappointed that it lacked a little bit of specific clarity with goals that, we all know that you move in a direction better if there's a target that you're aiming for. So maybe there'll be more clarity coming out on specific goals later, but at this time, it was a very general overview plan. A little bit of frustration, if you follow Chalkbeat, I just kind of wanted to keep you up to date on some discussions on accountability, but very few of the State Department people are left. She has brought in, her people, which is typically what happens, but they were going to propose some changes to our accountability framework, and she took those proposed changes, attempted to take it to the state board, and they basically, she actually met with Gresham and White, and they, two from the Senate and House, and they have encouraged her to go back and talk to stakeholders. So she had, unfortunately, was going to present proposed changes to an accountability plan without ever seeking input from directors, from parents, from school board members, from anyone. But when you look at the plan that she was going to propose, it was basically the exact same plan that she functioned under in Texas. But it takes you very much back to old No Child Left Behind days, where you pick either an achievement path or a growth path, but you don't consider both. And any director will tell you that that's dangerous ground when you do not consider both. Because Clinton Elementary, we'll knock the top off of achievement at Clinton Elementary. But if they're high kids and we're not growing them, we're not doing our job as a school system. If they come in already knowing the information, it is our job to grow them a year regardless of what level they come to us. So the accountability plan very much needs to include achievement and growth. And the plan that we have right now is super complex. You look at the heat map and, it takes you a while to look through it, but it should be that way because the work that we're doing with kids is complex. It doesn't fit into a nice compartment. It doesn't fit into a nice bubble. And, we've really not lived with this framework long enough to all of a sudden abandon it and go a different direction. So I was happy that the State Board of Education and some legislators kind of kicked in and said, let's halt on this and let's get some input and let's put the brakes on this for a while. And so I will be advocating very heavily on behalf of Clinton City Schools that we do not move to a model that looks at one or the other. I think it is our job, and ethically we must look at both. So you'll see some media attention given that, so I just kind of wanted to give you a kind of a rundown of kind of the direction so you had some background information in case you were asked by a stakeholder. And then, as we said, I want to give you an update on our architect. We were hoping to put that on the agenda tonight, but they hadn't gotten us a clear vision and the specific information that we felt like we needed in order to present something where you all could make an educated decision on tonight. But we have been in discussion with an architect firm called MHM regarding a possible expansion of Clinton Elementary School. And I will tell you that this architect firm that we're dealing with this time has been a significantly different experience. Lots of knowledge. He's currently building a school in Athens. And I talked to Dr. Melanie Miller there at the superintendent's conference, and she has been more than pleased with the job that he has done and highly recommended him. But he walked into the school and immediately started asking questions, not only about the extension, but kind of the core capacity of the whole school. So I think as a school board, we've been looking at, let's just build another wing, let's expand it. But as he was walking the school, he made note that we are almost at core capacity of this building. When you look at the auditorium and what the cafeteria can hold and what the gym can hold and all the core logistical pieces of the building, we can expand a little bit, but we can never turn Clinton Elementary School into a 900-kid school. It just doesn't have the capacity to do that. So we walked down, and he is currently working on a plan, what would 4 additional classrooms look like, and then a couple of response to intervention rooms, since we're doing interventions in the hallways right now. And he is in the process, and Scott is working with him on that, of what that could look like. Can we add 4 classrooms to the end of the west wing? And what we would do at that point is that would open up in the future, if we need another K1, 2, and 3, we could do that where the BEP numbers are at 1 to 20. And then we could take our 4th grade and we could move our 4th grade down to the west wing in those 4 new classrooms and have a 4th, 5th, and 6th grade wing. And so that really is the extent. We talked about adding another wing to the front of the school, which we don't have the core capacity. We could add the classrooms, but then you're going to have to add another gym. You're going to have to add another cafeteria. And and we talked about possibly making that the 4 classrooms a 2-story building, but he said just because the west wing is a 1 level, to do a 2-story for 4 classrooms, it aesthetically wouldn't look correct, but then you have to run into the elevator and all the accessibility codes, and you're going to see the cost significantly increase. So right now, Scott and him have been in conversations, and he is roughly estimating that to pull off 4 classrooms and a couple of RTI rooms would be roughly $1 million to $1.2 million. So we will come back as we hold some further conversations. We'll come back and certainly seek your all's input on what you would like for us to do to proceed in that direction. And then finally, I gave you a flyer. Our fall cookouts are coming up with the Clinton Fire Department. They're going to grill some hamburgers for all of our children on the dates that are listed. If you are available, we'd love for you to come and eat outside and see all the great things that are happening in each one of the schools. And that concludes my director's report. Does anybody have any questions for me tonight?
None? Okay. Monica, are we still having the coupon book sale? Have you gotten yours yet from Monica, David?
No, I have not.
Well, maybe get some, or maybe at the next board meeting if you'll save some, or if you can take an order beforehand?
I should have told you to bring some. I didn't think about it.
Yeah, I think,
Does it go on? Till-
Mm, the end date is when? It's coming up. The 17th.
17th, okay.
Mhm.
We'll,
17th.
I'll get with you afterwards. Okay.
You know where to find him, don't you?
All right.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Also, Keys and Faye and Johnny, thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate all you do, not only for school boards in your own county, but also coming here and helping us with ours as well. Thank you so much. Your time's greatly appreciated. And with that, anything else to come before the board? Hearing nothing, I'll declare this meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Hey, David,